right, welcome back. Today's Q2 week 6, and today I have a live studio audience. I have my fourth period in here. Say hello, fourth period. Hello. Yay! Today we're going to do a very short video where we're going to take what we did last week, which was our Minecraft character, and the animation, the walk cycle we had with him, or her, or it. And we are going to learn how to make a video out of that. And we're also going to learn how to modify the camera, animate the camera, and then just talk about different camera settings in general so you can render out a video and put it up on YouTube. Be an awesome YouTuber like me. That's a joke. All right, great. Hilarious. Okay, so what I've done is I went ahead and created a very simple scene here by creating a cylinder with three cones on it, and populating a bunch. So under perspective, that way you can sort of see what I've built here. All right, I've got just a simple scene that will give me some reference for when I move the camera around. All right, so just to show you where we're at right now, let's see. So here is a 3-up view. A 3-up view is just very, very similar to the view that you're used to, except now we have a separate view over here that we can adjust and sort of see what our camera is looking at. And we'll look at this all in a second. This is just sort of a preview to show you what's going on right now. So I'm going to have my little dancing guy dancing around here, and then we are going to circle around him so he looks like he's dancing oddly in the middle of the forest. So that's great. Now, you probably have your walk cycle, and that's absolutely fine. As long as your little Minecraft person is moving, that's perfect. So go ahead and pull up the Minecraft person that we did last week so that you have something to animate with. I'm also going to do that. I'm going to actually take all of this stuff. I'm going to delete the camera so we can start over. I'm going to delete my light, so all that's gone. So I'm basically starting with the same thing that you are. I'm going to grab all of this other stuff that I've created, and I'm going to hide it. I'm going to put it on a separate layer so that I can sort of work with it separately. I'm going to create a new layer. You don't have to do this part, obviously, since you don't have any background yet. But one of the things you want to do as an extension to this project, once you have the camera moving, is give it a little background. You can put them in a city. You could do like whatever craziness in the background you want. But I'm going to call this background. Background, good. So now all this stuff is on there and I can hide it. Alright, now I'm going to go back to our original view. So this is my perspective view. I'm going to hit Z for zoom and back out a little bit. So this is the actual animation. You'll notice that I've lost my timeline bar. If that happens to you, we've already talked about it before, but you can go to show UI, show track bar, in case that ever happens. So this is what I've got. This is my animation. Alright, it looks pretty silly. I kind of like it. So I think I was getting ready to start like a whole jump. I think when we left off last week, I said something about, oh, you can start a jumping animation and you bend him over. I don't know. Anyway, I know I waved at you, and then I left him the way he is. So I've got like a funny looking dance. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take this animation and just leave it the way it is. We're actually not going to mess with it. First thing we're going to do is create a camera. So if you remember, if you hit Alt-W, it gives us the quad view. Okay, the quad view is what we were used to before, which means we have 4 viewports. So for today, we're actually going to start out using the quad view, and then we're going to modify it a little bit. Now, last week, I actually went and had you close this viewport layout tab. Okay, part of the reason was to sort of give us more space, but now we kind of need it back. So if this is gone because you set it up and you got rid of it last week, in order to get this little section back, which is the viewport ribbon, you've got to right click over here in the ribbon, and then we are going to go down to viewport layout tabs. So go ahead and click that. Right. So now I've got my perspective view. I've got wireframe, 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 top, front, left. Now what I really want is my 3. Now you can click this little caret, this arrow, and you're going to get a whole bunch of different options. I like this one here, but it's really up to you. You could do any one of these that you like. for this particular scene, I'm going to use this one, but feel free to play around with some different viewports. Okay, now within this, you can set this up however you want. Like this is my orthographic that I'm turning into perspective for now. I'm going to turn this one into perspective as well. So I'm going to hit P, turn that one into perspective. And this, I'm actually going to hit T for top. Okay. Now, in my top view, I'm going to maximize that by holding Alt and tapping W. I'm going to maximize my top view. So now I've got this top view set up. We are going to create a camera. All right, we're going to create a camera, and that would be in the Create tab, of course. You can actually see about the fourth button over is cameras, so go ahead and click that. Now, there's two types of cameras that we're going to work with. There's a target camera and a free camera. A target camera has a little box that it always points at. Okay, this is really good if you are making a video. However, if you're doing something like if you have a car or something and you want to feel like you're inside the car, you want that camera to be able to just look wherever it's pointing. Okay, so that would be a good use for a free camera. But today we're going to focus on target cameras. So go ahead and click target. And then in the front view, I'm going to turn snapping on. Okay, I'm going to make sure that I'm snapping to grid points and grid lines. I'm going to turn off vertex for now. And now I'm going to click. It doesn't really matter where. You can actually see down here, if you've never noticed that before, it says where you're actually snapping to. So I'm going to snap at, looks like negative 200 centimeters. So I'm going to click and drag from there to the center and let go. Okay, now, if you have a scene that kind of looks like mine, suddenly you can't see anything. Well, you create a camera, but you can't tell. That's because when I set my layers set up, I think I have it set so the background that I just created was my new active layer, right? And it's hidden. So if I do that, you'll see it pop up. So I need to open up the background layer, grab camera target, camera 01, right? See, I just made sure that they're in there. So they are, and that was a mistake. So I'm going to unhide those, okay? Zoom in, hit Q so we can select it. Select the little cube at the beginning, select the camera itself, and we're going to put that on our normal layer. So go to Manage Layer. So since we have them selected, we can go to our Mesh layer, and we'll just add that there by using this plus button. And now we can hide the background, and we can still see our camera. So that was a little mistake, but hey, it's kind of a good way for you to learn how to find things just in case something goes wrong. So now, what we have is we have a target camera. I'm going to hit perspective real quick. We're going to go back to top in a minute, but for now, if you hit W and select your camera, you'll notice as you move it around, you can turn snapping off. I'm going to turn snapping off, so I did already. If I move it up, it keeps pointing at that little cube. No matter what you do, where you move it, it points at that cube. You can imagine how valuable this is when you're making a movie. Okay? When you're making a game, it can be valuable in a cutscene, but realistically in a game, whenever your character's facing forward, you want the camera to face forward. So really this is only useful in a movie making sense. Okay? So we're going to use it today, but generally we're not going to use this very often. You can actually move the target as well. So if you see the target and you move it around with W, see how the camera constantly follows it no matter where it goes. So if I right click and cancel that out, I can do that. Now under E, if I hit E for rotate and I select the camera, let me get back to my good selection, E. If I try and rotate this along its x-axis, so to rotate it up and down, it doesn't move at all because you can't control this camera by selecting and rotating itself. You control the rotation of this camera by moving its target. So if I want to move it left and right, I got to move the target. All right? If I hit E and I try and rotate this along the blue axis, it doesn't move. If I try and move it on the y-axis, it does move. That's in case you need to do a barrel roll, right? But we don't, so we're not going to. Yes, do a barrel roll. Okay, cool. So let's get back to what the focus of today. So let's go ahead and grab the cube, the target, the camera target, and we can actually change the name of this over here if we wanted to. I'm going to leave it at camera 1 for now. You could change it if you wanted to, and that would be a great idea if you're going to do more than just one camera, but for today we're going to leave it. I'm going to take the target, hit W, and I'm going to move it up so it's more in the center of my character, the chest of my character. That way everything is inside. Now, it sure would be great if we could see exactly what our camera is seeing. Well, that's why we had that 3 set up from before. So hold Alt and hit W. Over here on the right side, I'm going to set this. You can actually click up here where it says perspective. You can click there, go to cameras, and select camera 1. Now we're seeing exactly what our camera is seeing, and you can adjust this so it's shaded. So I've changed camera 1 right here, and I've changed this to shaded. Over here, I'm going to change this to top. Top will be really useful for us as we animate the camera. And then here I'll use perspective. So I'm going to go ahead and drag this up, and you can see as I move this up, my camera viewport changes. Alright, so let's go ahead and do that. So I want to get a nice view of my my little guy here, my person. Alright, so I'm going to keep the camera kind of low so it looks kind of cool. Alright, and I'm going to have this set up like this. So now you've got your camera view, you've got your top view, you've got your perspective view, and you've got your actual camera selected. Now, the target itself, I'm not going to move that today. I'm going to leave that right where it is for the rest of the animation. I might actually move it at the very end, but we'll see. I'm going to grab the camera itself, though, okay, and I'm going to animate it. So right now, if I scrub back and forth, the guy dances, and that's fine, but the camera doesn't move. Well, the same animation principles we did last time are what you're going to do today. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and make sure my timeline is set, my scrubber is set all the way to 0. Right, I'm going to turn on set key, and I'm going to set a key at 0 with my camera selected. Now I'm going to go to 100 and set another key. Okay, now I was smart when I created this, and I made sure that, and you can see on my x-axis or my y-axis, my camera itself is at 200 centimeters in this case. All right, 200 units, and its z-axis is 40. I'll change it to 40. Okay, and then I'll hit set key. Now I've changed this. I've changed the end key because that's where I was. So in order to make sure that this is perfect, I could go back here and change this to 40, or what I could do is drag this key back by holding shift and dragging it over. But let's see how it looks right now, just for giggles. All right, well, let's watch it snap. Right, so I can't really see any move at all. What if I forgot to set a frame? I bet I did. Yeah, I bet I did. No, it just moves so little you can't tell. All right, well, either way, if I moved it a lot, I'm going to go to set key. I'm going to move it a lot just to prove my point. I moved a lot. If I set a key and then I hit play, and right click here, you'll watch it snap back. Boom. It's subtle, but we don't want that. We want a nice smooth transition. So we're going to stop that animation. I'm going to grab this, drag it all the way back. And the reason I'm doing that is just to make sure that it stays at the same place the entire time. Okay? That's a good dance. All right, cool. Now, I'm going to go to frame 50 now. I'm going to go to the top view, and I'm going to rotate my camera like this. I'm going to set it to 0 and 200 because I'm pretty sure that's where we were. We were at negative 200, so I'm going to move this to the same place. I'm going to 0 that out and set this to 200. Alright, now I'm going to set a key right like that. I should have probably had set key ready to go beforehand, but now I should have. Now it's not moving because I didn't, because I moved it when it wasn't a set key. Alright, does it move after that? No. Great. Fantastic. Let's try it again. So I'm going to take that, delete it, take the first frame, delete it, go back here, move it around in the top view. Alright, there we go. And set it to negative 200. 0, 0, enter, and set that to 0, and then set a key. Now it should move to there, and then it stops. But I can grab this frame hold shift, drag it to the end, and now I've got it where it sort of cycles back through him. Right? But that's not really what we want. I want to rotate it all the way around. So I'm going to go to frame 25, right, and move this out 25 frames, or to 200. So at this point, I'm going to actually move it out on the x-axis to 200, all right, and the y, I'm going to zero that out, all right, and I'm going to set a key. So now I've got where it sort of circles around to the back, and then it'll go through them. All right, because it's frame 75, I need to do the same thing. Move this back out. This is going to be negative 200. Set the Y to 0 and hit the key button. All right, so now what you should have is a spinning camera. Although if you notice how, see how it sort of, every time you spin, it sort of gets in close, and then it backs out, and then it gets in again, and then it backs out, in again, back. So it's got like this weird, which kind of would work for a dance, but that's not really what we want. Instead, we want it to be smooth. And how do we smooth out animations? Well, in order to smooth out animations, we know that we need to transition and go into this mini curve editor. Okay, so I'm going to open my mini curve editor, and I'm going to look for places I can smooth out that transition. Right? Number one, see that lump? Right? Let me make this a little bigger. Right there. See how it's starting to, like, it lumps there? Let's go ahead and delete that point, and this point, and this point. So now we've got a smooth transition up and down. The only difference here is that it sort of starts slow and then moves up. Where here, this would be the end, the bottom point of a curve, so it's okay if it's smooth. This should be like the halfway point in a curve. So we really want this and this to be fast in and out. So go ahead and set those tangents to fast. Now we can close that, and you can set your animation. I should right-click the right frame, and you can see it's a nice, smooth, circular animation. And there's barely any jump. You can see it sort of, it pops in and out a little bit right there, but all in all, I think it's pretty good animation. Now, if we take that, if you add a background scene to it, which I'm going to do, and you can take your time to do that too. You'll have a whole another day to work on this. This is a 2-day system, so you'll take 2 days. So I'm going to unhide my background, okay, that I created. And once again, I didn't put a whole lot of work in this. It probably took like 10 minutes or so. So turn off set key. Oops, I did not mean to do that. Okay, then hit play. Right-click on the window that I want to watch. And there we go. You can see dancing in the forest, in the mountains, like a crazy person. I like it. Looks pretty cool. Now, you've got this sweet animation. Not really, but whatever. All right, I'm going to maximize my camera window. Alt-W. And now, we need to actually set this up to render so we can render it out. Okay, so you've gone through and you've created your animation, you've adjusted your keyframes, and now you want to make sure it's nice and smooth. As you've done that, now you're going to render it out. The rendering process is actually pretty simple. You can go into your render setup, which is also F10. All right, your render setup, you're going to go and look at this rendering setup. So go ahead and hit F10, pull up your render settings. Now, up until now, we've always rendered a single frame. So if you hit render, if you hit render, it pulls up one single frame. Okay. Oh, I forgot. We need to do lighting. Perspective. If you hit perspective, you can actually adjust and move around and see everything. If you hit, if you're still in your camera view, you're not going to be able to move around much, and that's okay because you don't really want to move around much. So hit P for perspective. Let's put a light in there. All right. I actually already put a light in, but I'm going to delete that light so that I can put another one in. I'm going to hit H so I can find the light that I have. Maybe I didn't. Maybe I deleted it.
You deleted it at the beginning.
I did. All right, great, cool. I did delete it. Good. All right, so let's put a light in. We've talked about lights before when we did our normal map. So all that is, you're going to go to free light here, and I'm going to click and then hit W and drag up. Now, we have it set just like we did before, so if I hit F9, I can see what it's going to look like. If I want it to be in the dark, then I guess it's pretty good. F9 to render. Alright, that's okay. Now, it sure would be great if we had some shadows on that, and we can actually do that. So go to your light settings, go to the top, and you can turn shadows on. Okay? And if your light is too dim, you can actually come down here to intensity, and right now it's set to D65, but you can actually adjust this to make it brighter or change a different light, and you can actually change it so you can put like just Kelvin, which is how bright a light is, and you can change the color of it. So if we're doing it during the day, it would be slightly bluer like that. Render that and see how it looks. F9. I like the shadows. Shadows are a nice touch. That's going to be maybe a little too dim, so I'm going to change that to 60. Let's go 64. 72. We'll double it and see how it looks. F9. It's still not super bright. Let's go ahead and change the intensity. Let's go bump that up to 3000 and render it. F9. Doesn't render. It's getting a little brighter. That'll work for now. Once again, I'm going to snap back to my camera, camera 1, and I'm going to hit F9 to see how it looks. Now, another thing we need to do, when we render, go into F10, you hit your render setup, you're going to look down here. We use HD TV video a lot as our render settings. You might already have it set that way. And I like it because it's a standard output system. But videos take a long time to render. Even though we're creating a very simple scene, it might be a good idea to shrink this so it's a little more manageable and so the file size isn't crazy. So I'm going to render mine at 480 by 270. That way it's going to render smaller, but that way the file's not going to be too big. So in order to actually render out a video, we need to go to the common parameters at the top here. Okay, and under the time output, usually we do a single frame, but today we're actually doing the active time segment, which is 0 to 100. You could change it so it's only a certain section, especially if you have a large animation. You just want to see how something is looking rendered. You can set it to like a single frame, or you can do a range. Now, all the way down at the bottom, first thing you have to do before you can actually save this is you have to tell it where you're going to save it and what you want to save it as. So we have to go all the way down here to render output and click save file. And you're going to have to choose where the file is going to be saved. I'm putting it on my desktop. Okay, and I'm going to change the format to AVI. Okay, and I'm going to call it test movie. Now, when I save this, it's going to say, well, I've already done this, so it's going to ask me if I want to overwrite it, and I say yes. It actually hasn't saved anything yet. In order for it to actually save it, you have to render. In order to render it, you got to tell it what window to render from. Now, we are in the camera view, so it's already been sort of set for us, probably. So we want to make sure that under view, we are making sure that it says camera 001. Right? And then we're going to hit render. It's going to say, do you want to put it on the desktop? I say yes. And then it starts the rendering process. Now, once again, because I used a very small file, you can see that, or a small resolution, it renders really quickly, which is nice because that's kind of what we want. So now as I wait for that to finish, when it's done, it's already saved, so I can close it, minimize that, close this, find my test movie, double click on it, and now you can see it should render and then rotate nice and smoothly. So there we are, out dancing in the middle of the night in the forest. Creepy. Weird. But that's a goal, right? That's the goal. So like I said, today, short video. I just want you to go ahead and try out the different aspects of setting up your camera, moving your camera around, using the target animating system. Remember, if you want to move around and you're in their camera view, you've got to hit P for perspective to be able to get out of it. When you have that set up, you can also take time if you want, hit F3. You can hit F3 and then actually adjust your camera target. So right now my target doesn't have any animation at all, it just sits still. But if I wanted to, I could go to set key, set a key at the beginning, set a key at the end, go to frame 50, and then have it so it's like looking down, checking out that sweet booty. Sweet square booty. Yuck. Alright, so let's see. Cameras. Camera 1. F3. Yeah. That's good art right there. And then you should be able to play it. And now it sort of like spins around. Gets a sweet shot of those hips that aren't lying. And that's it. Alright, so I hope you had a good time. And I hope you had I hope you end up with a fun little video that you can show some people, and they'll be really super impressed by your square dancing video. All right, thanks a lot for watching. I'll see you next time.